Spoiler alert, I didn't have the abortion. How can I be a mom to someone that I didn't even want in the first place? And I wish that I could just hug that version of myself and just tell her that it will be okay. I know that there are so many mothers out there who are like terrified of what comes next. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Girls in Real Life podcast. I'm your host Mariah Clayton. Happy Monday, happy Mardi Gras to those who celebrate. I've honestly never really been a big Mardi Gras girly. My mom never let us celebrate it growing up. It's more of a Catholic thing. We're non-denominational, so we just never really celebrated it a whole bunch growing up. But to those of you who celebrate, I hope you're having fun and that you're staying safe. I personally am just excited that I don't have to be at work today or tomorrow because the Lord knew I needed a break. And also, I could not even remember that it was Mardi Gras this week or like this past weekend because in my mind, it was simply just Ace's birthday. Okay, that was the only holiday that we were celebrating in this household. I cannot believe my baby boy turned 2 years old. If you're listening to this on Monday when it comes out, his birthday was yesterday on the 2nd, but we celebrated his party on the 1st. So we had a bunch of our family and friends over. Justin barbecued some hamburgers and hot dogs and wings on the grill. We had a little blow up jumping situation. Ace got to see his friends, his cousins. It was just honestly so much fun. It was very low key this year. Justin was in charge of doing the birthday this year because I did his first birthday and you know, I like to do my big one. It was his first birthday theme was Ace's first rodeo. So of course I had to have horses at his party. We literally had a carousel of ponies. It was so cute. But Justin was like, we're going to take it down a notch and I'm going to handle the birthday festivities this year and we're not going to be doing nothing crazy. But honestly, it was so just like wholesome and fun and very intimate. So I like both vibes. I like, you know, having a theme and going all out, but I also just love having intimate moments with family and friends and just creating those core memories. But yeah, today's episode in honor of Ace's birthday is going to be all of the things that I don't regret doing as a first time mom, because I feel like there's a lot of, I don't want to say discourse in the mom community, but people are just very, very opinionated on lots of different things. And so it's easy to get pulled in one direction or the other, or to feel like you're doing something wrong as a mom, or to feel extremely guilty for not doing something that someone else is doing. And so I just want to let you guys know all the things that I don't regret doing as a first time mom and what my stance is on certain things when it comes to my child, just because I like to know people's opinions about certain things and I like to see how other people are doing it as well. Not to fully compare, but to just be open-minded, because that's the thing that I've learned on my journey as a mom, is that you have to be open-minded. You have to be willing to look at all of the possibilities and paths that you can take when it comes to raising your child and doing what's best for your child. And it truly does take a village. So if any of my insight can help a fellow mother out there, new mom, a mom to be, if you want to be a mom, I hope that it is. But before we get into that, I think I would do myself and you guys a disservice if I didn't reflect on these past 2 years as a mom and like what my journey has been like for me. And if you've been a long time listener of the podcast, then you know my journey, you know my story, you know Ace was unplanned, you know I thought about getting an abortion, you know that I was depressed for a long time, you know I had a hard time during postpartum and transitioning and feeling like I had lost pieces of myself. So like I said, if you've been a long time listener, then you know these things. But if you're fairly new, or if this is your first time listening, I kind of just want to give y'all a little snippet of my life, because I know everybody doesn't know. I was in a 7-year relationship before I met Justin. We ended that, and a few weeks after I ended that relationship, I ended up meeting Justin. And 2 months after I met Justin, we got pregnant. So I had a lot of life changes happening at one time. I was relearning myself. I was going through, you know, just all these different hardships at one time. And it was a lot on me mentally and emotionally and spiritually as well. And so I was very hard on myself during that time in my life. And I remember when I found out I was pregnant, it felt like my world was just crumbling down, because this was the last thing that I needed or that I expected. And so of course, when you're in that state of just hysteria and of crisis, you are going to do anything you can to try to get your life to feel like normal again. And so my first thought when I found out I was pregnant was that I needed to get rid of it. I needed to have an abortion. I knew someone that had pills. And also I forgot to mention at this time that this was the time when Roe versus Wade had just gotten overturned. And of course I live in Louisiana. So abortion was like, girl, if you don't leave the state, it's nearly impossible. So I knew someone that had pills. They sent them to me and I carried these pills around thinking that I was going to take them and end my pregnancy and just go back to life as normal, because I felt so much shame surrounding my pregnancy, because all my life people told me not to have sex before marriage, and here I am with this like visual proof that I did the very thing that I wasn't supposed to do. So it was very hard for me. I dealt with a lot of guilt, a lot of shame, a lot of depressive thoughts, and I genuinely thought that I was not ready to be a mom, that I was not going to be able to handle this situation that I had found myself in. I found out I was pregnant when I was about 4 weeks. So it was very, very early. And thankfully I had a lot of time to think about what I wanted to do. But when it comes to the pills, you want to try and take them as soon as possible so that, you know, less risk of anything crazy happening. So I knew that I had a little bit of time, but I really didn't have a whole lot of time. And so I was going back and forth on whether I wanted to have this abortion, or whether I wanted to get rid of this baby, on whether I wanted to like be with Justin and like go on this journey together. It was so much that I was thinking about at one time, and it was just overwhelming, to say the least. As you can imagine, my headspace was all over the place. I was talking to people who I knew and who I trusted, trying to get their opinions on what they thought that I should do. And everyone was just like, only you can make this decision. So for me, it just felt like the weight of the world was on my shoulders, because whatever decision I made was going to change my life immensely. If I did the abortion, I was going to have to live with the guilt and the regret of killing my unborn child. And if I did have this child, I would have to go through the process of birthing this child and raising him and, you know, being his caretaker for the rest of his life, you know? So it was more so for me, like, pick your poison, girl. Your life is going to change regardless. So you just got to figure out which way that it's going to change. Spoiler alert, I didn't have the abortion. Obviously, we're here 2 years later, but I think back on that time of my life a lot, and I reflect on it a lot. I'm already about to start crying. I don't want to cry. But I remember just being so scared in that moment and just thinking that I was never going to be able to do this. Like, how can I be a mom to someone that I didn't even want in the first place? How can I fully submerge myself into this life of being a mom when I felt like I didn't even get to live out all of the things that I wanted to do? So there was a lot of fear around having Ace and like choosing to go in head first with this journey of being a mom. But I can sit here and honestly say that it is literally the best thing that could have ever happened to me. And I think back on that time in my life and I wish that I could just hug that version of myself and just tell her that it will be okay, that your son will be the biggest blessing that you didn't even know that you needed, that he would be literally the most funniest, the most charismatic, the most caring, the most loving, the most genuine soul that you will ever know. He is light in its purest form. And now that I have him, I cannot even imagine a day without being his mom. I cannot imagine a day without seeing his smile or hearing his laugh or like watching him play. Like, it is, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cry. It just truly is the most amazing thing that I've ever experienced in my life. And all of those fears that I had going into this journey, they were valid. Like, they were so real, but they were also very irrational. Yes, it's scary because you're like stepping into the unknown and you're stepping into this world that you know almost nothing about. But it truly has been the most rewarding journey that I've ever been on. And I love Ace with my entire being. I would do anything for him. And I'm just so grateful to God that he stepped in and that he allowed me to have the strength and the courage to go on this journey, because I genuinely don't know where I'd be at in life if I didn't have Ace, if I wasn't his mom, like I don't know who I would be, where I would be, what I would be doing. I don't even want to imagine that. I don't want to imagine a world without my son in it, because he genuinely is just the greatest blessing on earth. People talk about children being gifts from God, but until you have one, like, that is when you fully understand and grasp that concept. Because even when my life is crazy and chaotic and overwhelming and I'm unsure of myself, I have someone who I can look at, who looks at me with just pure love, pure adoration, who simply thinks that I am just the greatest person in the entire world in spite of what's going on around me. So I truly think that that is the gift of being a mom, is that you always have someone who, no matter what is going on in your life, looks at you like you are the greatest person in the world and relies on you. And when you're feeling bad about yourself, they make you feel better with their smiles, with their laughs, with their hugs and kisses, and just constantly wanting to be around you. It truly is a gift. And I just felt like I needed to share that today, because I know that there are so many mothers out there who are like terrified of what comes next. You find out you're pregnant, whether it's expected or unexpected, and you start having all these irrational fears about motherhood and what that journey is going to look like for you. And it can be very scary. And I'm not saying that it's not hard, because it absolutely is. It is genuinely like the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, but it is also the most rewarding. And every fear that you find yourself having now before your child comes, the minute that they're in your arms, all of it washes away, and you just immediately know what to do. You know what they need. That mother intuition kicks in, and you're able to just provide for your child in the only way that you know how. So yeah, I am so grateful, so happy to be Ace's mom. I'm sorry I got so emotional, but honestly, like, just thinking about it just brings me to tears, because like I said, I don't know what my life would be like without Ace. And I'm just so happy that I'm his and he's mine, and to watch him grow and to watch him just learn so much. And he's just so smart, and he's literally the best. If you've met Ace, if you've seen Ace, then you know that he genuinely just lights up a room anywhere that he goes. He's so sociable. He's so friendly. Like, I'm just obsessed with him. So yeah, if you are pregnant or wanting to be pregnant or in the trenches of being very freshly postpartum, like, I empathize with you, because it is scary. The unknown is terrifying, but I am here to tell you that it gets better. I am 2 years into this. I finally feel like I'm getting my pink back. I'm feeling so much more like myself. He's learning to be more independent every single day, and it truly is just so amazing. Like, we made it. I made it, y'all. So yeah, anyways, let's go ahead and dive into these 7 things that I don't regret doing as a first-time mom, and just giving my little 2 cents on some very touchy subjects in the parenting community. These are by no means in any order, but this first thing that I don't regret is truly, if you don't take nothing else away from what I say in this episode, please do this. Sleep train your child, okay? And I know there's some controversy, but I am here to say Ace has been sleep trained since 6 months old. We've done the same routine since 6 months old, and that boy sleeps 12 hours every single night in his own bed. It's very rare that he wakes up in the middle of the night and I have to go get him, only if he's like sick. Honestly, that's pretty much it. Only if he's sick. Sleep training was truly the best thing I ever did as a mom. Ace co-slept with me and Justin in the bed up until 6 months. We gave him 6 months. We had, when he was like freshly newborn, we had his DACA tot in the bed with us, which is just like this little, I don't even know how to, like, oval shaped thing with raised edges that you can lay them in. So he was in there, and then we switched him over to a bassinet that was next to our bed. And then at 6 months old, we transitioned him into his own room, into his crib. It was not easy, but it was worth it. And some people might come for me in the comments, but yes, I did do the cry it out method. And he is fine, y'all. He is okay. I remember the very last night Ace slept with us in our bed, and I was like, this is it, because I wasn't getting no sleep, y'all. He was waking up every 4 hours wanting milk, wanting to be held, wanting to be like cuddled, whatever. And I was like, I cannot keep doing this because I'm at my wit's end. So I remember the next day I looked up an article on how to sleep train, and this article literally said, it was the best thing I ever read, y'all. It literally said, if you want your child to sleep through the night, lay them down, close the door, and don't go back in there until the morning. And when I read it, it sounded so harsh. But when I tell you it worked, oh my gosh, it worked, y'all. Because when a baby turns 6 months, they don't need milk anymore. So when they wake up and they start crying, they might want the milk. They might want to be rocked back to sleep. They might want that, but they don't need it. Okay. And again, I might get some people in the comments, but the first night was definitely the hardest because we laid him down and he slept for like 3 hours and then he ended up waking up. And I let him cry it out, y'all. He cried for maybe like 15 to 20 minutes. And then he went back to sleep. I didn't give him a bottle. I didn't go in there. I didn't pick him up. I just let him be because they have to learn how to soothe themselves. The second night we did it, he cried for 10 minutes. And then the third night we did it, he cried for 5 minutes. By the fourth night, I kid you not, no crying. He was asleep. He didn't wake up until 8 o'clock that next day. I vividly remember this because I recorded going to wake him up. I was like, y'all, he slept through the night. Like, it was honestly the best thing ever. And since that day, my boy has been sleeping through the night every night in his own room, in his own crib, and wakes up the next morning excited and ready to see us. Is it hard to sit there and listen to your child cry and cry and cry when you know that you could stop it in an instant? Absolutely. But they also have to learn how to soothe themselves and how to be independent. And it really does start with sleeping by themselves, because the more that you continue to go in there and rock them to sleep and give them what they want, the more that they know, like, oh, if I keep doing this, she's going to keep coming. So they have to get to the point where they realize, I'm just wasting my breath. She's not coming. So let me just lay down and go to sleep. Now, there are different ways to sleep train your child. I'm not saying you have to do the cry it out method, but this is just what worked for us. And Ace is thriving and is getting his rest as he should. Piggybacking off of the sleep training is to establish a routine. And for us, this did start with sleep training. We started establishing routines with getting him to go to sleep. So we did the same thing every single night. He ate dinner at a certain time. He took his bath immediately after dinner. He got a bottle immediately after his bath. And after he finished his bottle, he went in his crib. And we've been doing that ever since. Like, he still does that to this day at 2 years old. And he knows his routine. When he gets out of the tub and I'm changing him on his changing table, he's like, milk? I'm like, yes, baby, we're going to go get some milk. He drinks his milk. He looks at me. He says, night, night. I'm like, yes, baby, it's time to go night, night. Tell daddy night, night. Tell mommy night, night. And we go lay him down. He doesn't even cry. He's just like, all right, this is just what we do every single night. So establishing a routine, I feel like, is just so perfect, because you know your baby's windows, when they're supposed to be awake, when they're supposed to be asleep, when they're supposed to have a snack, when they're supposed to have lunch. Like, it makes the day run so much smoother because you know what to expect and they also know what to expect. I know there are some people out there who don't agree with putting children on a routine. You know, just let children do what they want to do. Let them fall asleep when they want to fall asleep. Let them eat when they want to eat. But for us, I need order in my life, okay? And me and Justin, we like to have our alone time. We like to still do date night. We like to still have time to ourselves in our own home. So routines for us really just help our relationship and also help Ace understand this is how your day is going to go. Ace knows to expect milk when he wakes up. Ace knows to expect to eat lunch around 11:30. Ace knows to expect to go take a nap at noon. Ace knows that when he wakes up at 2 o'clock, he's going to get a snack. Ace knows that when it's 5:30 or 6 o'clock, it's time to eat dinner. And after that, it's time for bath and to do our nighttime routine. Like, he literally knows his day and his schedule, and it just makes things run, like I said, so much smoother. I don't want to say there are no surprises, because obviously they're kids and they will throw things at you, but for the most part, we know how our days are going to go and we're able to plan our day accordingly. So for us, establishing routines in this household has been key. The number three thing that I don't regret is having screen time, y'all. Don't kill me, okay? My child does do screen time. When we first started screen time, it was very minimal. He didn't do a whole lot, but as he's gotten older, we do allow him to have more screen time. And I do try to be wary about how much screen time and TV he's ingesting, because I don't want him to be glued to the TV every single day. I don't want him to rely on an iPad, but I do think that it can be beneficial. Ace has learned so much stuff from watching TV. Miss Rachel has single-handedly taught him sign language. He knows how to sign language stop. He knows how to sign language again. He knows how to sign language more. He knows how to sign language thank you. He knows how to sign language mommy, daddy. Like, he knows so many basic things that I was learning some things. Like, we both know sign language now, but I do think that allowing them to have screen time allows them to get knowledge and learning in a different way. Obviously, I will always want him to be outside and to play and do hands-on things, but if I need to get something done, if I need to do laundry, if I need to go wash the clothes or wash dishes, like, he's going to go sit down on that couch for 30 minutes to an hour, get his little screen time in, and that'll be that. I know that there are studies out there that say you shouldn't have screen time before the age of 3, and, you shouldn't be doing excessive screen time and all this, that, and the other, but you don't know people's situations, okay? There are some moms out here who are working 12 hours a day. There are some moms out here who literally don't have any help, and screen time is the only way that they're able to get any peace in their household. So it's like, I'm not judging anybody who does screen time. I'm not judging anybody who doesn't do screen time. But I think for us, we found a good, healthy balance. The next thing I don't regret doing is putting my child into daycare. And at first, I did not want to do this, y'all. I was a stay-at-home mom with Ace for 11 months, which was, thank you God, I was able to do that. I didn't have to work. The only thing I had to worry about was taking care of Ace, which was so, so nice. And so when it was time to put him into daycare, I was just like so scared and so nervous, and I didn't want to do it. And now I will say, his first daycare that we put him in, hated it. Instantly regret, because he was only there for 2 days and he got COVID. And so we pulled him out. That was it for me. I was like, we got to find somewhere else, because this obviously is not the place. And it didn't just have to do with the COVID thing, but we just didn't really like the teachers and the environment. It just wasn't a good fit for him. But the daycare that he is in now, a million times yes. It's so much better when you feel a good vibe from the daycare and from the teachers, and even also just like from the other kids that go there. It's a huge difference. But yeah, I do not regret putting Ace into daycare. I feel like he's definitely learned so many more social skills just being around other kids. Again, it's that structured environment where they are on a schedule, they are on a routine. So the same things that we were implementing at home is now being implemented in school. He loves his teachers. He loves his friends in his class. Like, just seeing him thrive in that environment has been so cool. And so I would definitely say that if you can afford putting your child in daycare, put them in daycare. It is so nice to know that he's in an environment where he's fully taken care of. I don't have to worry. I can go do whatever I need to do. Y'all know daycare is expensive, okay? I don't even want to tell y'all how much we pay for Ace's school, but yeah. Okay, the next thing I don't regret doing is ear tubes. And again, this was something I was very apprehensive about, because what do you mean my child has to undergo surgery? What do you mean he has to be put under? What do you mean you're going to put tubes in his ears? Like, I was not for it at all. But when he started daycare, obviously he started to get really, really sick. He was just exposed to a lot more things. He was always stuffy. He had ear infection after ear infection after ear infection. He was on like 4 different antibiotics. Like, it was just a lot for us. And I also think the ear infections were affecting his hearing and his ability to like be balanced, because it took him a while to learn how to walk and stuff. And so we decided to get him the ear tubes. I did a lot of research on TikTok. They said that, it's a very routine surgery. Kids get it all the time. So it made me feel a little bit more comfortable. I remember going into the surgery, I was super, super nervous, because I knew that, he was going to have to be put under. I didn't know if he was going to be in any pain, but the procedure was over, and literally like 3 hours later, he was back to normal and he was like playing and laughing like nothing had ever happened. So when they say kids are resilient, they really, really are. And we need to put more trust in their abilities to bounce back, because for me, I was just always so nervous about every little thing, and I didn't want anything to affect him negatively or, like hurt him too badly. But they really are so resilient. And wanted you know it, a few days after he got the tubes in his ears, he started walking. When they have ear infections and like when one side is more clogged than the other, it's very hard for them to hear. Their equilibrium is thrown off. And so for him being able to get the tubes and to just like release or drain all of the liquid, I guess, that was in his ear, it really did help him a lot. His tubes have since gotten removed now because they were starting to slide out. I think they say they're only supposed to last for about 2 to 3 years. So we did get his taken out now, and he's actually going to the ear doctor on Tuesday for like a checkup. But yeah, he's been thriving ever since. So Again, I do not regret the ear tubes. If your child struggles with ear infections and, they're constantly on antibiotics, I would definitely look into it, because it really did help Ace. And it also helps a lot of other parents from what I've researched. Keeping up with the same medical field, the next thing that I don't regret doing is vaccinating my child. Okay. Again, this is a very touchy subject, but Ace has all of his vaccinations. I take that back. We did not give him the COVID vaccine because I'm still a little apprehensive about that one. I don't even have the COVID vaccine. So I'm like, I'm not going to give my child that, but neither here nor there. Every other vaccine he's got. He also is going to his pediatric checkup appointment this week as well. So he's going to get his other booster shots that he needs. And then I think that'll be the last of the shots that he needs until... girl, I don't know. But yeah, it was a no-brainer to me to vaccinate my child. Like, I don't know. I don't understand why people are so apprehensive about it. For me, I just knew that I wanted my child to be as healthy as possible. I don't want him getting things that are preventable because I was scared of him to get the vaccines. Obviously, it's tough watching your child get poked with a needle and having them cry and all of that, but it pays off in the long run. And I don't know, I just never thought for a moment that I would never not vaccinate my child. Like, it was just a no-brainer. Okay, and rounding out my list of things that I don't regret doing with my child as a first-time mom, I don't regret pumping. I don't regret strictly pumping. For me, I knew that I wanted to breastfeed my child. I knew that I wanted him to have breast milk. And I wanted to try the whole latching to the boob situation. But when I had given birth, I had, preeclampsia. So my blood pressure was very, very high. I was in the high risk unit. I passed 2 blood clots the size of my head. My doctor had to come in, or the doctor on call had to come in and found out that there was still some of my placenta inside of me. Yeah, so she had to come in and scrape my uterine wall with her hand. It was very painful. I talk about it in my birth story if you guys want to go and listen to that episode from a few years ago. But yeah, it was very painful. So needless to say, my body was just going through a lot of trauma after I had given birth, which caused my milk supply not to come in time. I don't think my milk supply came in until like 5 days after I made it home. So he wasn't able to latch in the hospital. He was on formula for the first 5 days. And then I tried to get him to latch at home, but it just wasn't working. And so, of course, as a new mom, you kind of feel like a failure, like you're doing your child a disservice. And I went through all those emotions, but I pumped. My older sister, she strictly pumped. And she, walked me through that process of like pumping on a schedule and making sure I had the right size parts that go over my nipple and things like that. Pumping is painful. All of it is painful, honestly, whether you latch or whether you pump, it's all painful. But for me, it was nice to know that I had the option to still produce milk for my child. And even though he wasn't getting it directly from the source, he was still getting it from me, which made me feel good. And so I don't regret strictly pumping. He was still able to get the nutrients that he needed, and other people were able to feed him. He wasn't just relying on me, which was really nice, because I was already going through it. I will say I did still try to get him to latch, and he did latch once and only once. I did film it. I have a video on my phone. I did cry because it was just a very, it was just such a sweet moment. I don't know. Like, it's a feeling that I can't explain. If you breastfeed, then you know. But yeah, it's just a beautiful moment to know that like you are giving your child everything that they need in that moment. And I don't know, I loved it. I watched that video a lot and I'm like, oh, I wish that I could have had that experience of just like, you know, fully breastfeeding him. But I also don't regret the way that we did it and strictly pumping. It was nice, but I did feel like a cow for the first 4 months. You know, I only pumped for 4 months, kept a stash up until about 6 months. And then after that, he was on formula and we kind of mixed it until I ran out of my breast milk. And then he was just strictly on formula. So we did both. I don't mind. I don't care. You know, a fed baby is the best baby. I know that there are some people who are like breast is best, but as long as they eating, they're good. So yeah, that rounds out my list of things that I don't regret doing as a first-time mom. These are just the things that worked for me and for Ace and for my family. It might not work for you and that's okay, but I just wanted to share the things that I thought have helped me the most in motherhood. And definitely for sure the top two are establishing a routine and having a sleep trained baby, because I just feel like that is the recipe for success. Justin and I get to have our alone time. Ace gets to have a full night's rest, and anyone can watch him because he's literally on a routine. He's literally on a schedule. So as long as they abide by that schedule, he's going to be good. A lot of people often ask me if I'm going to have another child, especially because me and Justin are getting married this month. And you know, people are asking that question, is there going to be another one? And honestly, I don't know. I used to say that I wanted 5 kids until I had one. And now that I have one, I'm like, one is more than enough. But a part of me does think that I deserve a do-over. I deserve to plan my pregnancy. I deserve to be happy about my pregnancy. I deserve to look forward to motherhood. And I think that it would be nice to be in that mindset and to experience what that feels like. But at the same time, I love Ace so much and I enjoy our time together alone. And I just don't know if I would want to bring another child into the mix. I don't know. I'm really on the fence about it. I think me and Justin have both agreed that 2 is our max, but now it's just deciding on if we want to go for 2 or if we don't. Justin does. Justin wants to have another kid. He wants to have a girl specifically. But I'm like, if we don't have a girl, then what are we going to do, you know? Because he does want to have a daughter. He gets jealous that Ace is such a mama's boy. But yeah, I don't know. I keep telling Justin, you know, we'll talk about it when Ace turns 3. You know, I think that when he gets ready to go into preschool and he's a lot more independent and he's able to, you know, talk better and just, I don't know. I just think that it would be so much better if he was 3 or 4 before I think about having another child. Jesus. And after the traumatic experience that was my first labor and delivery, I don't know. Like, I just get so nervous and scared. But I know that if it's in God's will, then we will have another child. Just right now, I am truly enjoying being a mom of 1. I am soaking in these moments with my sweet baby boy, and I don't want to think about having another child right now. But anyways, if you guys enjoyed this episode, please go ahead and leave a nice little comment, like the video, subscribe to the podcast, all the things. I love you guys so much, and I hope you have a great Monday, a great week, and I'll talk to y'all in my next episode. Bye.